Good morning. My name is Bob Chandler with the RVR's Tech Committee, and I want to welcome you today to our class. Come on in. To our class on RPR. We got a few more being seated here. We've got about 24 or 20 folks here in the room. For those of you out there in Zoom land, you can't see, but we've got a pretty full classroom here, and I'm glad to see that again. And we have, as the ones in the class can see, we have quite a few people in Zoom land as well. For those of you guys in the room, I just kind of went over this, but I hit it again. Please be aware that our mics are very sensitive. So watch what you say. When you do ask a question, speak up loudly. And Jay will repeat your question so everyone out in Zoom hears it all. There will be time, and for those of you on Zoom, please make sure you mute. It seems like about every class, somebody's phone will ring or a dog will bark, or you'd be surprised what the kids say. So, yeah, you'd be surprised what the kids say behind you. So please make sure you stay muted. There will be times for questions. You can, for those of you out there in Zoom, you can always hit the chat. Laura is monitoring the chat room. So if you have a question and you just want to kick it out there for later on, send it right into the chat. Laura will get it. And then at the appropriate time, she'll bring it up. If you do need to bring it up yourself, just unmute yourself at those times when Jay asks for questions, and you can ask the question yourself. We will be recording this. It'll last for about 30 days. It'll be up here in the next couple of days. Is that correct, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay, and it'll be on the RVR website for 30 days if you want to go back. And if you miss something, especially with these kind of classes, as Jay gets moving through these things, you may miss a step or something. Go back and review it again. Make sure you catch everything. We will be sending out a survey afterwards. It's real important, guys, that you send out, that you actually answer these surveys and send them back to us. It serves two purposes. One, it helps make these Zoom classes, these hybrid classes, better classes, because we get your feedback. We can make some changes. Anyone who saw these classes a year ago as compared to now will know that we take these suggestions seriously, because it has become much better because of them. Also, we want to know what classes you guys are interested in. Between the tech committee and the education committee and all them, we're always looking to see what to bring you. And the best way to find that out is by you guys telling us what you're interested in. So please take the time and do those surveys when they come. We do have a couple of classes being offered by the technology committee soon. One is it's a CRS tax class. You all know in Flex, this is one of the features we have in Flex, the CRS button you can hit, and it's got a ton of information in there that we can use. So much so that we're breaking it up into two classes. The first one is just the basic CRS, and the second one will be how to do CMAs off of it. So we don't have a date yet. We're still working on that with the person who's going to be putting it on, but pay attention to that coming up fairly soon. Now, lastly, I'm going to introduce Jay. Jay Kilby is with Remax All-Stars. He's been a realtor for 16 years. He's a longtime member and past chair of the RVR's Technology Committee, and he serves as the RVR's vice president. And he's also our local tech guy. Anything tech, it's Jay. So, Jay, all yours.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. I'm staying muted, right? On my computer, Bob or Jim. Good. Thanks, Bob, for the introduction. Couple notes before we get started. Can everybody hear me on Zoom? Okay, so I cannot see very well the Zoom participants. So if you have a question, Laura's looking out for it. Just make sure that you have a question, make it be known. We can put it in the chat, put up the thumbs up, whatever it takes, we'll get to you. So I appreciate participation. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started here and let's see here. Let me get to, oh, 1 second, I'm trying to share the screen. All right. All right. Are we there? Okay. So we can get started here. First of all, is everybody able to get logged in currently to follow along? So we will have a few, we're going to go through the mobile as well at the end. We're going to start on the desktop application that comes through the MLS. One of the most important things that we've tried to do from the association level is keep your sign-ons with what they call a single sign-on. You log into Flex, you should be able to get into all of our outputs. So if you can't get in today, or if you've had trouble with any of our apps like Zip Forms, RPR, CRS, any of those, it's been very, very important to us to be able to click one time into the MLS, have them initially link to where you can then just hit one button and get over to the RPR. So don't give up if you have login trouble. It's literally one time of a fix and you'll never have to do it again. So no trouble there, I guess. Let's start in Flex. Show what we've got here. How many people know that there is a way of changing your home page, should you want to make your top tab board customized? So you can use it to have each individual one. Say you use, I know the quick search is now how we do everything, or the universal search bar. You can customize this tab bar at the top. These are the ones that I use the most. The RPR is all the way at the right. I use Zip Forms. I can basically click those without even having to look at them because I know where they are now and they've been so functional. But the way you can do all that is click on these stars. So you click menu under the Flex tab on your home screen, and anything you put a yellow star beside shows up in your dashboard at the top, or your tab board at the top. So if you click RPR down here, there's CRS, here's RPR, it will show up along this strip. So you have another couple different ways you can change the view of what shows up and all that, but that's a different class that Bob's teaching later. I'm kidding about that. He's not actually doing that. Okay, so I clicked on that link right at the top where my RPR was. You can click at it from the menu and it will take you to the correct tab. Let me close a couple tabs here and move this down to the side. Now let's just open a new one. Okay, everybody's is going to look a little bit different. There's branding within the RPR to separate yourself. It also comes out through reports at the end. Mine says Remax, yours may say Wainwright and Company, yours may say Century 21. So each one's will look a little bit different, but the main point of the homepage is everybody's will below that look the same. They've done some recent updates to that. They've made it a lot more user-friendly. You can see a lot of the white space to make it very clear to where everything is. How we're going to organize this thing is we are going to move across the top tabs here, which is your basic navigation panel. We're also going to come down here, look at each one of these. We're going to go through the universal search bar. We're going to go through all the topics that come up. The great thing and the main point of the RPR is the way it aggregates information. I don't have to tell you that the public appears to have as much information as we do when they go into a house. It's not true. We have access at our fingertips to more information than they do. So it aggregates information that's not available elsewhere, puts it into a fashion that makes it very, very easy for you to check and export, meaning send to a client, send to an investor, use to get new clients, send out for prospecting purposes. A few little things, just for example, when you're in the field, the mobile app is absolutely fantastic for looking at property lines based on GIS data. There's not another app out there that really does that. You can do it through Google Maps and it's a little bit quirky. There's a couple paid apps that you can get. Well, this one's free. This one's from the National Association of Realtors. Any questions thus far? So for today, we're going to dig down the weeds on a few details of what's important. We're going to hit a lot of the highlights of where to go. One of the best things about the RPR is they have, for lack of a better way of explaining it, they have dumbed it down to a toddler could use it in terms of guiding you through the process. They have done a really, really good job of hitting the tab button and showing where everything goes. They also are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, available with customer service. If you click up here in the help, you can either type this in, call the number, or do a live chat. The live chat is fantastic. It's actually a real person after about 2 questions. So they try to get you to the right spot, figure out what your question is, and then they're going to help you. So if you have any type of problem short of getting into the RPR, This is a great resource to help you in a pinch. Okay, move. All right, if everyone will go to the top right-hand corner, and we're going to start in the settings and profile. Everybody reads a manual when you buy something first, right? Everybody reads the manual. No, they don't. Okay, so click on that and go to your settings tab. There's two options here, and this is the settings is not as important except for your initial setup. This just sets the information that automatically populates when you do a search. You can set new listings that just have, if you say searching in 24015, this will say, well, those new listings will have a tab for the first 30 days that says new listing. Same for recently sold or leased. You can just change the dates to 30, 60, 90, whatever you prefer. Same for commercial or residential. Okay. This area over here on the right, if you work a specific area, zip code, however it needs to be, this is where you add like your neighborhood. And really, it's not terribly important to do. You can do it. All it does is make it easier to find the information under a quick search. If you're just going in there to quickly look at an area as opposed to a specific piece of property, it just takes you to that screen first. So I don't notice a huge difference there. Okay, this is the first bigger one. You'll click profile here on the left. Everybody still with me? Okay, here's where you can change your information. You can put your pictures in there so that they show up on reports if you're going to email it or print it out for your clients. You can change your photos, change your logos. It's got your NERDS number here. You can change your passwords, basic contact information. One nice thing about the RPR is it's generated off your NERDS number, which means when you change firms, or if you change firms, your firm information is automatically populated. So on that right-hand side, all this is grayed out for my brokerage address. It's good to know I still work there as of this morning, but that populates automatically. I can't change that. Everything else on this page, I can change. Punch in your information. This would be similar to like the front page of an appraisal where it says who the appraisal is for and who the company is that did it. It's like a cover page, and that's where this information is populated from. If you are a member of multiple MLSs, one of the things that needs to happen, you probably already know this if you are one, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. You have to choose one MLS to be your predominant information gatherer. It doesn't really change the way the information is presented, but you just have to choose one as being where you are. If you notice, I'm in the New River and Roanoke. It's got my primary is the RVAR, and so it uses that to authenticate my login, and that's the most important part of this. If you have that problem, go specifically to the help. Don't spend any time losing everything else. One interesting feature since the last time we did this class that they've added, they do have an assistant feature. So if you have an office admin that you want to be able to generate reports, or if you have someone at your office that wants to be able to log in addition to what you're doing, here is where you would add that person. Okay, I'm going to scroll back to the top, and we're looking at this right-hand column now. Connected apps. This is where you can connect zip forms to your RPR. We're going to come back to this in a little bit, but this is where you would do it. So it's under settings and profile. You can generate a new listing or a new purchase through zip forms. So all the information that's in zip form, through the RPR into zip forms.
Can you go back? I didn't see
Sure.
you got to that connected app.
Okay, so we're at the top back here under the profile section.
Okay.
So click the picture, go to profile, and then it'll come up. It's looking in the right-hand side. Scroll down to the third box down.
Hold on, mine's got closed up or something. I can see.
Is everyone seeing that?
Look profile over here.
Yes. In that top left-hand corner. Is it not there? So zip forms, we'll come back to this. However, if you link it here, it should be one click. You've already authenticated. This is one of those important moments where the way we do our logins is really, really helpful. You're already logged into zip forms, it'll automatically populate over. If you're connected to zip forms. So if you link that, you can automatically take a transaction, start building it in the RPR, and move it over to zip forms to start your transaction management, start your contract. Did you find it, Kim? Oh, okay. So everyone, let's click back here on the home screen. So we're on the main tab now. We're coming back for a few highlights on this home page. Here's where you switch from residential to commercial. So one of the things, if you're a predominantly residential agent, there's no reason to be a member of LoopNet or CoStar or anything like that. There's a lot of information still on the RPR's commercial site. So you can click over here, click the tab, switch to commercial, and start your searches that way. It uses data sources from Crexi and LoopNet, and it pulls a lot of information in. It also does the same as the residential side in that if it's an off-market property, it will still bring up all the previous sales data, all the history, as long as it comes from one of the data sources, as well as public information like GIS. We're going to come back to commercial briefly here in a little bit. Any questions thus far? Okay, so here is your search bar. So say your purpose for coming into the RPR is on a specific piece of property. You're coming in to get the information on one piece. You can come in, punch in an address. I've just picked a few random addresses to have as displays that are outside of our area. Here's one in Georgia. We just pulled up a random town in Georgia and found a listing. And of course, it went under contract while I was getting prepared for all this. So should have done my reporting this morning, I guess.
You put that under location.
I'm sorry?
You put that under location.
I did. I just pulled up a search. So
Okay.
if you want to punch it in, it's 2219 Pendleton Street in Albany, Georgia. 2219 Pendleton Street, Albany, Georgia. So it takes you to it. If you notice, this particular one pulled Google Street View as the front photo. Depends a little bit around as you go around the country. I pulled this one specifically just because it didn't cooperate with giving you the MLS photos, but a lot of times they do share MLS photos. So it doesn't matter whether it's in Georgia, it could be just south of our boundary in Martinsville or wherever. It's going to pull whatever information from any data sources it can. It prioritizes MLS information. So you can look at it from different angles, different views by clicking overhead versus street view. They have switched in the last 3 years from Bing Maps to Google Maps, which I think generally is an exciting thing. You can expand it to look at a different, if you want to look at just the map, you can look up Google Maps through the RPR's desktop side. There's also some interactive maps here. We're going to click very quickly, and I want to show you a few things on how that is. So I'll show you where that is again. I'm on the property. You can do it from the street view. This map to the right is the interactive map. So it's not Google Maps. It's pulling its own RPR map and putting in the data. Notice it's got GIS property lines, not surveyed property lines. So same vulnerability you might have from just looking at a GIS data source, might not be exactly accurate. Use it as a guide, not as a definitive property line. But on this map, you have a tremendous amount of information. You can do it. This would be if you had saved like a specific location or a specific like polygon of where you wanted to search. You could pull it up there and shoot an overlay. This is where the RPR shines. This is all of the information that it's aggregated on every piece of property from all of its various data sources. This tab here pulls down, it'll show you, for example, say, Virginia is a little bit odd in the fact that we have standalone towns, cities, and counties. This will show you city boundaries, county boundaries, towns within a county. It will actually show you exactly where those property boundaries are. So if it's something that's subject to double taxation because there's a little town, well, this is going to show you those town boundaries. Census tracts is when it shows the census data. It's kind of a hard map to see, but they base it on how the census data is put out there for voting purposes. It's not terribly effective for what we're trying to do. This was a big topic a few years ago. If anybody remembers the OZs, the opportunity zones, it was around 2016, they started labeling areas for redevelopment purposes where you could get tax credits for opportunity zones. That may come back into play at some point in the future. It's not quite as popular right now. You can search specifically by zip code, which I find incredibly helpful, especially in a rural area like some of the outskirts of the RVA are. It makes no sense why there's a zip code in a certain spot. Well, this will show you exactly where that zip code is. Macro neighborhoods, I've never seen that overlay work, so I don't really know what it does. Same with intermediate and intermediate, minor, and micro. The census block groups is again shows a neighborhood data off of some tax information. School districts is also incredibly helpful. So this is similarly to having to go to a GIS to look up a specific school district. This aggregates that same overlay so that you can check and make sure which school districts something will go to, a specific house will go to. This shows 9 through 12, 6 through 8, and K through 5. So you can label it down, narrow it down a little bit further from there. All right, here is another interesting one. We're on this right-hand side. You can hit the driving feature. So this has become popular over the last few years. Say, I'm going to use Carillion as an example. They have some doctors have to be within X number of miles or X number of minutes from the hospital in order for insurance to cover them, right? So if they're, say, an emergency room doctor and they have to be within 18 minutes of Roanoke Memorial, here you go. All you have to do is say, well, we want to be, what was that, 2219 Pendleton. If I could type, that'd be dangerous. Was it Street, Albany, Georgia? Of course. Okay. Let me go back really quickly. I'll show you exactly what this does. Sorry, don't pay attention to where I'm going. I'm just pulling up. Okay. So going back to the map and go to driving time. So you need to be within, well, it's not going to work. Okay. All right. I don't know why it's working. I know where that one will come back. I can show you that in a minute. But basically, that feature allows you to hit a button and it will tell you within driving time all the way around the city exactly where you can go by Google Maps driving time, which is sometimes how hospitals or some of these other companies that do require driving time, that's how they're doing it now. They're not doing it off of, they say 8 a.m. on a Monday morning, you have to be within 18 minutes of a hospital. Well, this can literally do a search for you that way to where you can have it send them directly to an individual buyer.
So when I click on the little driving car, the address that I put in there, is that where I want to go? Like if I want to be X amount of time to the hospital and I'm at an address in Roanoke, for example, do I put the hospital's address in there?
You would.
Okay.
So what's the address here, Jim?
4358 Starkey Road.
You need to put the full address, zip code and all that, or?
You do. Something is off here.
You keep saying error.
There
Oh,
we
I
go.
typed it in.
You got a commercial.
Is yours coming up?
You got it on commercial still.
Well, I switched it back and forth and tried it both ways. I'm not sure what it is. Let's just try getting out all together and see if that fixes it. What was it, Jim?
4358 Starkey Road.
I'll change the status.
Yeah, I don't know what it. Yeah, let's see if that fixes it. There we go. Okay.
Do you need to change to public record?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
Oh, you changed it to public record. Should work.
Oh, yeah, that was what I think did it. I'm sorry, Jim, give me that one more time, 4457. So we did 4358. Okay, so just using the RVAR's address, here it is, select your travel time criteria. Obviously, you want to do by car. They will dictate typically how far you have to be, or you can just choose an arbitrary time. Say we want to be within 15 minutes of the RVAR, so use that as the hospital or whatever business you have to be within there. And it shows you the map. Then you can hit search within this area, save that area, dedicate it to the person, and away you go.
What did you have first? It wasn't working, because mine's still not working, so I must have something wrong.
So I went up to type status and put public record, and I think that fixed it, just to the right of the search bar. So the question was, what address do you put in there for that? And that would be the address of wherever the person works or whatever dictates how far they have to be away. So you put the address there.
So just walking that through, yeah,
Yep.
because you want where they need to go. and
Correct. And-
Backtrack out from there.
So this map shows you within 15 minutes from an 8 a.m. commute on Monday morning. So it goes into Google Maps, figures that out of the distances and the commute times. Thankfully, Roanoke, we don't have to worry too much about rush hour traffic, but in a major city, that might be a lot bigger of a thing. On that right-hand side of this map, when you're on a specific piece of property, you can also punch in points of interest. So say, again, they have to be within, somebody's trying to be within 2 miles of a library, 2 parks and whatever, if they're getting very specific like that. Or you can hit retirement facilities. There's a lot of choices here. So I just hit points of interest here and they automatically populate to come up here. They also have a lot of government offices on there. So if, again, like a hospital, if you had somebody that had to be within a government facility a certain amount of time, say they want to search by school district, similarly to the MLS, you can do it like that as well. And then the next one down is another interesting way of looking at the data that's around you. This one we're going to come back to a little bit more within the prospecting feature. So if you're sending out information, trying to get buyers, reach buyers, reach sellers with, say, like a blanket card that you're going to send out, like a postcard. This is a great way to hit the demographics you're looking for. And this is all built off of census data, and it will go off of the household income and a certain age demographic. If you're trying to sell, say, a patio home, you want to hit a certain demographic. That's a way to get that information on there on the map. Notice at the bottom, here's the big one that is really, really handy. If you've ever tried to go to FEMA and get flood information, it can be really sticky to figure out exactly where it is. If you hit flood maps here, it will show you. I'm going to turn off the driving, turn on the flood maps. You can zoom in to specific information about flood maps. So let's just zoom in. I turned on the layer for flood maps. It shows you all of the areas. It'll dial in just a second. It does not give you A versus AE or anything like that, but it does give you the high risk versus low risk and allows you to at least see something general. This also comes back very handily on the mobile app because you can get to the overlay. If you're standing at a house, didn't catch prior to arriving, didn't catch that there was a creek right behind it, Rpr is this quick solution to figure out, hey, approximately where is that flood zone coming to? So it'll tell you pretty quickly. I'll show you that once we get to the mobile. Any questions thus far? Okay. Moving down, I went back and clicked. You can either click your logo or click the home button. It takes you back to the main page. You notice the first tab down is the My Markets. So when we were in settings, I had saved a handful of zip codes where we predominantly work. And this is where it populated it. So it's a good way to just look at a quick snapshot as opposed to the MLS. There's not a whole lot of information more here than in the MLS. I don't use this particular feature, but that shows you where it is. You can also keep track of individual things that you've searched through here. So one of the things that I've always benefited from, I use the RPR a lot when somebody is just looking outside the area and I'm not familiar with a piece of property. Anytime you search something within the RPR, it's recoverable. It comes back under your recent searches. So you can click here and this would be everything. One of the things that I've tried to do is get a handful of addresses prior to coming in here today that are outside the area. Well, I can't remember anything about Glen Allen, Virginia. Well, there it is, if you happen to be looking. So as we get a little bit more regionally located with the way people are looking at information, the RPR is even more helpful than that. It has the information outside of our MLS. Okay. If you want to save a search, this is where it will show up. All you do when you say, if you went to this top search bar and just typed in Glen Allen, Virginia, it will show you everything just outside of Richmond and Glen Allen. Same map we saw before. And as cheesy as it is, you hit the heart and it will show up on your saved searches file. So you can always come back to a recoverable search. Okay, so I'm back on the home page. I'm scrolling back down through each of the features. So this is just the home page. If you notice, there's the help button again. There's some training tools with videos down here in the bottom right-hand corner. There's also a little bit of a forum where people can bounce questions off of each other. So if you're having a problem, chances are other people have had that same exact problem. Any questions about the home page thus far? All right, let's go to tab number 2 under research. So this is kind of the second arm of the RPR. So let's just say you're not going specifically to look at one individual piece of property. You might be looking at a broader neighborhood or a broader area, something like that. You can come here, there's property search, map search. It's kind of similar to how we're set up on Flex. So it looks familiar. You can do a school search. Here are the couple of commercial sites. I also just highlight one thing here at the bottom, how to search. If you watch the way the RPR does it, if you click on anything that it's at the bottom tab, they're going to show you a video on everything. Just a quick clip video to show you how to do something. So if you click under research, it's going to take you basically to a more expanded version of your location search up here under each individual tab. So depending on how you want to use it, how you want to get to whatever piece of property or neighborhood you're looking for. So you can say, generically, I'm doing a neighborhood search for Roanoke, Virginia. It's going to come up and give you neighborhood information. So aggregating that tax record and census record information for how a neighborhood individually looks. This pulled up everything that's labeled Roanoke, Virginia. And I believe when it did this, yeah, it's just Roanoke City. So you have to play with it. If you want to do it by zip code, you can do it by zip code. You can do it by individual neighborhood, like Raleigh Court, for example, or whatever neighborhood you're individually interested in. And it's going to give you that tax and census information. Median income, estimated value of houses, 191. Change percentages over the last month, and it's 12 months. As you scroll down, it'll give you more. This is going to give you individual areas, searchable areas by zip code. It's going to give you some pretty graphs that you can put together in a report. Where this is most effective is, say you have someone coming to Roanoke for the first time and you're just trying to get them in front of information relative to each other. So here's a report on Roanoke City versus Roanoke County. You can do that, hit click report, and it comes out as a PDF or as a printable document. Okay. This will give you population ages, ages by adult age group. Scrolling back to the top, it does do nearby school ratings. I believe it still uses great schools for that. Clicking the housing tab, it digs down a little bit deeper to the first page and shows you individually comparisons between Roanoke, the surrounding areas, as well as Virginia. Oh, in the United States. It's interesting to look at, no matter how you use it. It's kind of fascinating to see. Laura and I were just talking about the difference between the price ranges sold of the median versus the average. This is how I saw it. And I would have never guessed that in a market as strange as we're going through right now, that the average price versus the median sales price are as wide of a gap as they've ever been. So it tells you that it's an extreme market, as if we didn't know that. Any questions thus far on this tab? Okay. People's going to do the same thing. It's going to aggregate that census data. Same with economy. The economy's got a few little interesting things to it too. Oh, we're lagging a little bit. There we go. So this is going to give you a side-by-side comparison of each locality, and you can narrow these down to specific areas. Again, I searched just Roanoke versus Raleigh Court or whatever neighborhood you chose. Unemployment rate. Okay. Moving over to marketing. So this is the prospecting feature. We're very fortunate to have two different types of ways to do this. Bob was talking about it before the class about the RPR or about the CRS tax software that we also have. They have a great way of doing this too. RPR has improved theirs tremendously, and they're both very, very good. So when you click on marketing, you choose prospecting for residential clients or commercial clients. You can also create an individual flyer for a listing right here. Again, just to highlight it, there's a video at the bottom to help you walk through it should you need it later after the fact. So if you click a prospecting here, that purple tab will pop up every time you choose to go into one of these features. You can turn it off if you've seen it enough, but it'll walk you through step by step. Okay, so prospecting for clients. Say we're in a market where everybody's competing so hard for listings, we want to send out some type of a seller information, flyer, card, whatever it's going to be. Start by clicking research is what it says, and that purple tab keeps coming up if you notice. So then we do a map search. And say, just for simplicity, we're going to say 24015, hit enter. It's bringing up the report. Is everybody following me there thus far? Okay, so what this has pulled up is individual listings, and you can see them. There's 500 properties of 1,251. So obviously there's a whole lot that have come up here. The legend will show you where everything is. You can also switch the view. These are all closed listings. You can always change the report of how you want to do it. So I would click the tab up here. We've got 24015 public record. We're going to hit that for sale. We're going to hit it to, actually, let's do it. Public records that sold from 1/1/2010 to 1/1/2011, because we think that those folks are going to be selling their houses. They've been there 12 years. They bought it at the right time. Maybe they're interested in selling. So this is going to show 1 calendar year of houses that have sold. Oh, I apologize, I'm on commercial. Let me build this one more time. Okay. So 147 properties showing up. That looks to still be commercial, doesn't it? Okay. So this is going to show everything that is the properties that were sold was 147 in 2010 to 2011. This is going to show you that you can hit mailing labels and choose exactly within seconds how you want to send those out. So here's a great tool as well. Under the customize feature here, we can do it by address type or the tax billing. Think about that from the standpoint of a tax billing address versus a mailing address. Tax billing address is going to go to a secondary property. So you can eliminate everybody that's an owner occupant. Say you're just trying to target investor properties that may want to sell. Here's where you can do it. Yep, you can target specific properties that are investor style or have a different one. So absentee owner versus owner occupied. You can also exclude to stay within compliance of making sure you don't get in trouble of marketing to actively marketed properties. This will eliminate actively marketed properties as well. So you're not sending a flyer out to someone that's currently active on the market. So you can export them. It'll even put them into the format to where you can print on an Avery label if you so choose. It also can do it into a comma separated value file, like a CSV file that will allow you to put it into Excel and print labels that way. Any questions there? Okay. So the reports, this is where we're moving to the third tab. I'm going to click the home button just to get us back to the first point, clicking on reports. So the fourth tab over. Everybody with me? Click it. And this is where you start building a CMA. Or for that matter, a CMA on a whole neighborhood. It doesn't have to be a specific piece of property. It can be for a buyer, it can be for a seller. However you want to look at it. So if you click property report, this has gone back to that one we had in Georgia earlier. This allows me to build a sample report. Running for a CMA, it's going to automatically build it, and then you can make an adjustment. So the CMA, Flex has a CMA built in inside of it. The RPRs is a lot more user-friendly, as well as makes it a lot more robust values because Flex MLS is only using stuff that went through the MLS. You can pull all the information on public data, census data, all that, and take it into account. Okay. Any questions there? Nope. Okay. Let me click this off 1 second. All right, let me go back. If we can click the home page, we're going to actually pull one up here and go through a piece of property now on a specific house. All right, property is 4108 Mountain Road in Glen Allen. Just trying to choose one that's further away from here so nobody will have a connection to it. So if you want to punch in that address, click the home, punch in the address in that search bar. I'll give everybody just a minute to get that address in. Okay, we there? All right, so we're on a specific piece of property. Let's go down through exactly what this shows. You've got your summary file at the top. So similarly to how we got here with the tabs at the top, it's keeping that general theme for navigation purposes. Here's the tab. These are all pretty much down through here for the most part on the lower side, except for the CMAs built a little bit easier. Here's that map we discussed earlier. So if you had to choose within X number of minutes, see if it's within there, whatever points of interest, you want to see it on the interactive map and not just Google. Here is the MLS photos. This pulled from Richmond's MLS and pulled the data. So you can scroll through and see it. This is the property that went for sale. If you're outside the area or it's listed in another MLS, we saw one yesterday, for example, it was in the middle of Botetourt County and it was listed in the Rockbridge MLS. Well, it was on Zillow, had a buyer calling and asking about it. I was like, I don't see it. I went to the RPR and I had all the information within just a matter of seconds. So they had shared the information and it was there. Here's the listing agent information, allowed me to get in touch with them really quickly. Pulled the agent remarks, which in this particular case, it's not always there, but sometimes it will give you the actual showing instructions, should you want to call the listing agent that way. Property summary. This is just your basic fields. However, it's got a couple extra little features to it. This is the list price, the RBM. is the Realtor valuation method model. I think it's model, which is similar to a Zestimate, although we're not going to call it that. But it just gives you a general ballpark feel. I know Bob's used this a lot, where it's just like somebody asks you about an area, is like, hey, can you, any resources you have to take a look at it? It does appear to be a little bit more accurate than some of the other automated valuation methods. The RVM comes in, they will give you the details of it, of exactly where it is and how they use to get it. So essentially they're giving you their, the market analysis, the CMA, to show you how it is. It gives you the confidence of 5 stars that it's within $125,000 of their number. So that's why they probably have that much confidence in it, because of that variation. But it'll just get you in the ballpark. You know, it'll tell you whether it's a $600,000 house, or in this case, a $1.2 million house. It shows you what they use to calculate and pull it in. Some of these, this one used an off-market property that was nearby. Actually, that might be the same. No, it's just a nearby one. So that one's only using one other comparable sale. So sometimes it's more accurate than others. It's particularly helpful when the property's not listed. So say you get a call from an agent or from a buyer that says, hey, you know, I go to church with somebody and they maybe want to sell their house. Give me a ballpark of what it is. They don't want to let you in to see it. Well, you can come here and get a little bit closer than you could otherwise. Okay. This is also the first time we've seen the button to actually start a CMA on a specific piece of property. And it's automatically going to pull in whatever data it can from another local listing, something nearby, and automatically start building that for you. We're going to come back to that in just a few minutes. Here's the basic facts. Again, keep in mind differences here on the basic facts versus MLS is this is pulling from all data sources. So let's just use a specific example. House is built in 1980, and you go in and you're looking for information about, it's a 3-story, it's a colonial with a basement and a finished basement. And the tax data shows 2,800 square feet and the MLS listing shows 4,000. Guess what? There might not have been a permit pulled on that because the county doesn't know about it. So it's just going to give you a leading indicator. It may not be the case, but it's at least going to tell you, hey, the county doesn't know about this. The taxes may change upon sale or whatever may happen. This basic facts pulls from all of those data sources. So again, you're finding something that's outside of just MLS data. Any questions there? Okay. Description pulls the public remarks. If there are no public remarks, it does not pull anything from MLS data. It doesn't add anything here. Property facts. If you notice, there's 3 tabs: public facts, listing facts, and changes. So you can actually come in here and say, this one's single family residential, this says detached. We have a discrepancy. Listing, the public facts says 6 bedrooms, listing facts say 5 bedrooms. So they're only marketing it as 5 bedrooms, not 6. You can make that change and take that into account for your market analysis. Should you be trying to do that for a buyer? Say you're coming up with a figure. And again, to use that specific example, they finished a family room, a bedroom and a bathroom in the basement. Maybe the county doesn't know about it. Maybe it's on septic with a 3-bedroom septic. Well, you can account for that information and use it towards your valuing the property. Right? There's a lot of information here. This information is getting better literally year by year because as the RESO standards, which define what a room is, what an acre is, all of those things, all that information is getting better as we've aggregated it. So when the RPR started off, it was a little bit of a mess, not because of the RPR's fault. It was just we hadn't been aggregating the information together as an industry very well, and that's come a long way. So this is getting better and better. Here's a spot that you can add a field. Say you have a lakefront property, and this doesn't have it in here. So you have lakefront versus lake access. You can add an adjustment in here that will automatically populate in your market analysis later. Okay. This is showing the school districts. One thing to note here, this is the left-hand column is showing it based upon the listing. The right-hand column is showing it based on location. which is, if anybody's ever experienced this one, some similar to what Zillow does, actually. They don't necessarily put the school that it goes to. They put the closest school as the crow flies to the individual house. So sometimes you have to really watch school districts. Same with here. Here's pulling MLS data. Is there a question? Somebody say something?
Over here.
Oh. Yeah.
Quick question.
Mhm.
Do you happen to know, because you use this a lot, like the RVM that they have developed on the top of the screen?
Yep.
Is that based on the public facts or the listing facts?
So they use both to pull it. They generally default. Sorry, the question was, how does the RVM use the information to pull it? Does it pull it from the listing information or the public information? They default to listing information. So being the realtor property resource, they're believing that the realtors are telling the most true story. Yeah. Okay. Good question. Thank you for that one. Price change history. This is pulling directly from the MLS information. It's not going to pull for sale by owners off of Zillow or anything like that yet. AARP livability. Interior features, this is starting to pull more and more. And again, if you notice, this is actually pulling more accurate and more detailed information literally every year. It gets better. Some MLSs are pulling a lot more information on specific features within a house. So they're making you go not only just acreage, but total square footage of a lot, for example, or stuff like that. So you'll see some information there. Scrolling down, again, more MLS features and information. This is your legal description, as well as showing you where your taxes or where your direction and neighborhood is. It also pulls zoning, which is an MLS field, not pulled from public sources. This gives you the owner, your legal descriptions, plat map. Big one for us, right? You can click plat map. This one doesn't have one. If they put in a separate field for a survey, this is where it is. So, and that is available on the mobile as well when it's put in there. We do not have that field currently. Some MLSs do have a specific survey field on there. Here's your tax assessment information. You can pull information from that just to pull up your tax records of how much you're going to be paying per month. Here's another one that you're not going to find anywhere else without paying for it. Mortgage information is public information. How many people knew that? Public information. It is public when it was recorded and the terms of what it was recorded at the courthouse on. That is what this is pulling. It is accurate or as accurate as public data sources. I would not say definitively go put up an amortization table and you can tell to the penny what somebody owes, because too many things can happen. Say somebody misses one payment, that's not going to show up here. This is just going to show you at origination exactly the terms of the mortgage. Okay. This is also available in mobile. So in a different market, not where you're having to rush and remove home inspections and everything else to get into it. But when you are trying to figure out information, and it may be a distressed property and you know somebody's in trouble, you can check the mortgage, see what it is, and see if, say, somebody's underwater. You could just say, hey, here's where it is. This is where it appears to be from the remaining. If it was 2015 at 4.5% interest on a $100,000 note, you can do a fairly quick calculation and say, this is where it is about, and oh, it's worth it, or oh, it's not. And it'll let you make a little bit more of an educated decision in the field. Questions there? Okay, I'm gonna scroll all the way back up to the top really quickly, and we're gonna go down this right-hand column. I think I touched a few of these, but here is your informational listing agent to get in touch with. That's the second box down below the map. Additional resources, this is a big one. The first tab allows you to build a model for an investor's analysis. So say you've got a person that's going to want to buy it for rental purposes. If you want to click that, there's two things to note here. One, this page is going to tell you there's a lot of different training. This gets really getting down into the weeds. So we're just going to touch it and encourage you to go back because we have to spend a little bit too much time to get through this one, but we're gonna go through it quickly. There's the resources. It comes up every time. Can't get rid of that feature. But if you click view training, they have a tremendous amount of training on this particular feature. I'm not aware of another place you can get this particular field or search or whatever analysis done without paying for it. Okay, and be able to populate all the information in without having to do it yourself. So if you click continue here, one thing to note, I'm going to get a notification here that probably most of you are not. You have to choose which piece of property you want to use. You're only allowed to use one analysis at a time with the RPR without having to pay to do a little bit more. But you can, if you're doing a lot of investor analysis, it's well worth its money. Okay. Is everybody seeing this page? It may look a little bit different. Let me see here. If you click it, you have to punch in a bunch of the information about it. So estimated rents and things like that are a feature that you can punch in. And it will give you the data of exactly amortizing the loan for you, showing you your cash flow, showing your rate of return, the IRR, and your net operating income. I'm sorry?
Laura's got a question.
Yes, Laura.
We have had a question posed, and it's not particularly necessarily about the screen you're showing, but the question is, can you see if there are any other liens against a property that have been recorded?
Oh, okay. Let's go back real quick. If you scroll down, or we're still on this page, I just went back to the tab for that property in Georgia. I'm sorry, in Glen Allen. I scroll all the way down to the mortgage. There is an arrow button here at the bottom. So this one was 6/20 of 2013 when it was originated for the contract date. It's done there. This was a credit line for $45,000. If you click the right-hand tab, it will take you to more information. Here was one from 2012 for a primary loan for a conventional loan amount of $397, and it'll give you the details. So if there's more than one dot here, it will show it. Under most circumstances, it will take you back 2 or 3 mortgages, even to the prior owner. It's not going to disseminate who it was. So you need to always match up and make sure the names match. But yes, it will take you back through, through mortgages in, I think it's back to 2010.
Thank you.
Okay. This investor tool analysis is really sharp. It shows, I punched in for this particular piece of property a $6,000 a month rent for a $1.2 million house. It showed me the net operating income, shows you the debt service. I think we put $5,000 in expenses here or something like that. And it goes through each analysis. You can change it to how much is the rent automatically go up each year, how much to plan for inflation, which I don't have to tell you, that one's probably going to be fun to predict for the next few years. It'll give you cash on hand. It'll give you equity multiples. You can really get down in the weeds on this stuff, and it's really fascinating. You can even do projections for 10 years on potential rate of returns. Okay. Cash flow tab. It's going to show you your estimated gross return and allow you to go through and track your cash flow analysis. Here is one that is a potential, it's a summary of your purchase versus sale. So it takes it out with the return on the money, showing you how much the gross valuation would be given certain returns. I also like this tab and have used it a bunch. This is your source of funds. So you can even help your buyer do an analysis of, well, if I put down 10%, how much at this interest rate versus 20%, which one's going to be better in the long run for this particular house in this particular case. You can take into things and accounting for, say, you know, within the first 5 years, it's going to need $25,000 in HVAC. You can add that into your analysis. So again, this one's a little bit too advanced for today, but there are a tremendous amount of resources if you want to dig into it. It's not hard. Don't let it be intimidating. Just takes a little while to learn. And the best way to do it is watch a few videos and start clicking.
Where did you put in the rent amount?
It should have popped up. You go back to, oh, sorry. The question was, where did I put in the rent amount? It should come up on the first page here. Let me see here. Let me see if I can edit this. There we go. Let's see here. No. I don't know where I have to go back to change that. Is that where it is? Maybe. There it is. Thank you. So you change your year one, go to cash flow, change your year one. Anytime you see the I to the right of a category, if you just hover over it, it tells you exactly what that field does. So effective gross revenue is just multiply your monthly rent times 12, and that gives you your effective gross revenue.
Is there a way to do short-term rentals or is it just long-term?
So it's just long-term rentals. The question was, is there any way to do short-term rentals versus long-term rentals? I guess in theory, you could do an average and then multiply it by an expected vacancy rate, but that's on like you'd have to still punch in the information. There is a hold period where you can do a longer term hold versus a shorter term hold, but not something that's going to be like you're saying like a VRBO or not at this point. Okay, any questions? Okay, I closed that tab and I'm back out into that main property page at 4108 Mountain Road in Glen Allen. Everybody there? Okay, so we're going back down. We're on that right-hand side, coming down the right-hand tab. Here's the map, scrolling down below listing agent and going to additional resources. If you remember at the very beginning, we talked about connecting your zip forms to the RPR to start your files. Here's where you go ahead and hit that button. So if you hit connect, you would start a new zip forms transaction. Transaction type would be, let's just say we're going to list it, hit OK, and then go to zip forms, and it's going to populate. Is that showing this tab? Yeah, okay. There's the file. It just opened. I'll take you into the zip forms as you guys are familiar with this. If you look, it has populated a lot of the information for me already. Okay. So it populated the seller information, hasn't populated any buyers and hasn't populated any documents, but it's already got some of the fields filled out to just make it that much quicker. It's already got your legal descriptions in there, tax parcels, whatnot. So just a little bit quicker than doing it the traditional way of just starting a zip forms file. Okay. Big advantage is it takes it directly from your analysis directly into the forms. Okay. Here's something under the next tab down, my updates. You can add notes about a property. So I'm terrible about this, but I go to a listing appointment, sit down with the folks. We talk about 50 things. I remember 3. Well, if I was diligent enough, I'd go in and punched in the notes. The RPR has a really nice database that backs it up to the cloud. So you don't have to save it anywhere. It doesn't have to be on a piece of paper, whatever it is. And it's going to stay here. It'll be in the RPR when you come in under notes. Okay. You can also take photos that way. You can add them from your computer, from your phone, either one, while you're running through of just, I've used it a few times where it's like, this doesn't convey, and you take a photo of the wood stove and away you go. So just while you're in the house, it's a great for record keeping. Yes, we have a question.
Are those private notes for just you?
Great question.
Versus everybody seeing?
Great question. They are.
Okay.
They are only, anytime you make an edit. So this goes for here under the property facts, under your changes, or the my updates. That's always your information and only your information. There are some instances where it can go to the report and become public if you made it public, but you're still doing it. What I mean there is, to use that example again of that extra bedroom in the basement, if you put that into your market analysis, yes, that's going to make it out. But if you put a photo of a wood stove that's not going to convey, to remind yourself to get that in the listing, no. Or if you make notes for your private remarks while at a listing appointment, then no, that's not going anywhere except the RPR. Yes.
So to clarify that, if it is going live listing, then it becomes public record, but if it's not, it's still a private note.
And to say it's public record, slight nuance to that, it's not public record, except you make it public record by putting it on the MLS that way. It's not as though it changes anything on the GIS or anything.
But I'm talking about the notes.
You're talking about the what?
The notes.
So the notes, the question was, are the notes ever made public? Is that right? No, the notes stay within the RPR.
So if you made the changes to the bedroom from 6 to 5,
Mhm.
in that change category.
Right here?
Line,
Yep.
is that, you said something that it would go public under the report?
So, yeah, so it would go public under the report. The question was, if we make the change from a 6-bedroom to a 5-bedroom, here under this tab, under your changes, it's still private information. However, when you import that into the MLS and start marketing it as a 5-bedroom, that's when it becomes public. It's still not public from the RPR side. No one's seeing your notes internally, but you've made it a 5-bedroom and made that public. Correct. No one is seeing your notes from it. If you use this, the your changes category on a market analysis and give it to a client, your client will see that you've made that change, but they're not going to see it as a note. They're just going to see the change categorically, making the house 5 bedrooms instead of 6. Does that answer your question?
Perfect.
Okay. Here's a nice one. 3rd tab over under the My Updates, a seller proceed sheet. How often do you get asked, well, what's my bottom line here? This is a super quick one too, while you're sitting at the table with somebody. During a listing appointment, whatever it may be, you hit add seller proceeds, you can run through, it automatically calculates it. You run through each individual situation, hit print or hit save, and you can send it to them right there while you're sitting with them. Just don't get it wrong, right? Yeah, it automatically does the calculation. Again, similarly to the previous notes, that's private. When you share it, that's the only time it gets released, and that's not going out into any spheres outside of the RPR, only when you share it. It also saves it to the cloud so that when you come back to it, in 60 days when they decide to list, you haven't forgotten what you told them. Questions? Okay. Next tab down, historical records from the property. So you can click here, and this will show you, this will show you both public and private history of where valuations have been. Left-hand side is the MLS, right-hand side is public record. And it's scrolling down through here. If you notice price change history, it's not showing anything because there evidently was no price change history from the public side. But on the private side, from the listing data, there it is. You got your property facts. By comparison, there's a whole lot here. It basically aggregates everything that you've seen just in more detail from the previous main page of a piece of property. Okay. Clicking off of that page and scrolling down one more. Here's your listing details. This is, again, something that is MLS by MLS, whether or not they share the private showing instructions through their feeds to the RPR. So sometimes you do see it, sometimes you don't. But still worth checking. Here's a quick way. Check, see if something's in an HOA, in case you didn't catch it, maybe on a private road and you were too busy to look it up prior to getting there. There's some more data about surrounding areas, kind of like what we touched on earlier with census data, but it's tailored this time to this specific piece of property, as opposed to the neighborhood like we did last time. You can also click for more information there. Okay. One last thing, and then we're going to switch to the mobile. Okay. We're going to create a quick CMA on this one. So I hit the create CMA. Let me go back. I didn't tell you where to do that. So again, we're on the main page on this piece of property. So all I did was search by this address, scroll down to right below the photos under property summary and create CMA. Okay. Similarly to a lot of these CMAs of how you want to do it, you can choose based upon a comparative analysis or sales comparison. This is, well, I mean, it's a detailed version versus a summary version versus a detailed version. There's two different ones. If you click here, it'll tell you exactly which one it is. It gives you more details on the bottom one, the sales comparison. So all you do is you confirm your facts. Let's just assume everything here is correct with the exception of the number of bedrooms. So the square footages don't exactly match up here, so we're going to match those up. Other than that, we're going to leave it the same. Okay. Oh, I'm going to have to move this really quickly to be able to click. Okay. So I confirmed the facts. Come back down here to find the comps. Again, it's going to use local information, automatically build it for you. You can narrow this down a million different ways. So you can take it down based upon date ranges, how long before something else has been sold, narrow it down by number of bedrooms. So you can put 4 to 6 bedrooms or change it however you choose. You can look at it from a total number versus a price per square foot, so that you can make an analysis a little bit easier. If, say, one's on a slab or one's on a basement, you make adjustments that way. You can also do it by age. Say you have an 1800s cabin and you don't want to be looking at new construction from 2022. You can narrow it out that way. Hit the search button, it's going to automatically populate everything. You can also choose to change it based upon active, under contract, and or sold. So it's a pretty standardized CMA. They're all pretty much the same. It's just a difference of how they look. So it found one sold property that it was looking at, pulled it in at 1.125. You can make your add to your comps list. There it is there. You can change it and say, well, this one had, 5 bed, 5 bath. We had 5 bed, 6 bath. We can make an adjustment based upon that and go through that way. Couple other quick notes. Sorry to scroll so much there. You can do a proximity search within these by map if that's how you need to do it as well. Hit the update valuation and close. It's going to go ahead and build it. It's got the comp analysis. You can do as many comps as you'd like. Just makes the report longer. And then you hit create report, and a couple minutes later, your report's ready. So you choose which type of report you'd like. Just the general property report is the smaller one, but each time you click a tab, for example, you can individually choose what you want to add in there. Say we don't want the AARP livability index, just click it off. But it'll pull all the information from that property sheet. If you want it all, it automatically defaults to pulling all of that for each property. So these things can quickly get to an insane amount of paperwork should you choose that. You can also just look based upon, this one's 28 pages, 81 pages. And remember, I only have one comp in this particular report, so that's kind of crazy. You can do the mini property, which just does the summary sheet and basic facts. Right? Here's where you personalize your report. So you can say, hey, Jim Sweetwood, we're giving this report for you. It shows him on the front page. And you can display it to him. You can also send it via email directly from here.
You're gonna give me $1 million by this.
That's right. We're giving, Jim wanted $1 million to buy this house real quick in Glen Allen. It's gonna be a little bit of a commute, but hey, we can actually calculate the distance for the commute time for you directly from the RVAR from Richmond.
2 hours.
Okay, so takes just a second to run that report. I click to run the report. It's just putting all that information together into a PDF. If you notice, it comes back open, reports has got the orange 1 beside it at the top. Click there. And scroll to the bottom. Where is it? It's finalizing now. And then it'll pop up as soon as it's done. Any questions on the CMA? So similar to that investor analysis, you can get really detailed on the CMA. I didn't want to hit too much of that. Okay. Jim, I'm going to phone in on the mobile. Hey, Laura, if you'll let me in just a second on the Zoom on my phone.
Will do.
All right, that's what I need. All right, Laura, I'm stopping sharing on my computer and moving over to sharing on my mobile. Oh, you need to make my phone a host, Laura, if you can.
I think I need to unhost your other.
Okay.
Which I don't know how to do. Let's see. Hey, Jim, I don't know how to make him a co-host the second time.
Okay. Screen.
Okay, then.
All right. So going into the RPR mobile app. Is that? Oh. Okay. So here's the RPR mobile app coming in on, it automatically will come up and go default. It's assuming you're using it on mobile, so it's assuming you're more location based than on the desktop. So it's automatically going to come in on this top tab and show Cave Spring neighborhood. So it's showing 24018 because that's where I'm sitting. Feedback here. Can you hear it? Okay, so when you click here, you've got 4 features along the top, like your tabs. You can look at the settings feature at the top, very similar to how we're getting into settings on your desktop. You just can't do quite as much on your mobile side. This is also, if you notice at the top, where you switch from residential to commercial. Okay. The welcome guide here at the top is similar to the Learn tab on the desktop side. You can also get in and change your profile and things like that if you need to, just quickly. I'm going to click back on the gear tab. Your search button is, this is your second tab, is your automatic address search zip. It also adds your other search types just down below. You can also use this as an alternate to your mobile app from Flex. So it pulls all of your information on your particular listings. Flex has a good app, not a great app. I think we would probably all agree. I like the RPR for looking up quick reference information about a house. So when you click under my listings or go directly into anything, it's going to pull it up very quickly. If you have to check a photo or check out showing instructions or something like that very quickly, this is the easiest way to do it. I've always found you can literally scroll through the photos on each individual listing just by swiping over if you're going to look there. You hit the 3 dots in the bottom right-hand corner of any individual listing. You can create reports, save property, or call the listing agent. And that is a very quick way to call the listing agent without having to look up any further information. Sometimes I found the Flex MLS clunky for trying to get to a listing really quickly. So the quickest way, let's just say we're standing in front of a house, lockbox is broken. Hit the 3rd tab over. It takes you to the arrow with a circle around it. It's going to pull up any information within a proximity nearby. So say there's a house that I'm sitting in front of, this 229 one. It pulls up. I click on the listing. That's 107 Windward. Say we're having a problem with it. There's all the information right there with a call agent right beside it. Okay, let me take you back. I'm going to go back to the home page here and show you how to do that again. Click the 3rd tab over. I'm sorry, I can't put a cursor on it. The 3rd tab over, you got the gear, the magnifying glass, and then the arrow with a circle in it. If you click the arrow with the circle, that is a proximity search. Show me the listings that are closest to my phone right now. It is a very fast way to pull up a listing if you're standing in front of a house and need to get that information very quickly. So then all I did was pull up that listing on Windward. It came through, scrolled down, and hit that call agent, and it'll go. It's also very quick and significantly faster than Flex for getting to showing instructions. So there it is at the bottom of the listing details under text listing agent. It also shows the private remarks. Okay. So while we're on this piece of property, we can just go down through this one. You've got your investor analysis at the bottom of that first block in addition to it. So that's where if you were standing there looking at rental rates, you can do that from your mobile as well. It's got your listing information, public description, your maps, and this is the same thing. You can launch Google Maps from here for driving instructions. If you're at one house, buyer says, hey, we want to go see this vacant house down the street. You can just launch your directions as you're headed out of the house, and it'll be on by the time you get into your call. Sorry about that, guys. Sorry.
Head northeast towards Starkey.
There we go. All right, 1 second. Sorry, I got to relaunch Zoom and oh, it threw me out. 1 second, I'll be back in. Laura, you might have, or Jimmy might have to make me a host again. Sorry, I got a call and it kicked me out.
Hey, Jay, can I ask, a question has been posed while you navigate, and it was, how did you get to the listing report from the circular map?
Okay. While we're doing that, let me, yeah, you're gonna have to add me again.
I did.
I think I got kicked out. The guy called back. Okay. All right, so Jim's added me as a host. 1 second, I'll be right back in. All right, thanks, Jim. Okay. So I'm launching back in to the RPR. Let me take you back. Again, I hit that third tab over. I clicked this 229 up here at the top that just circled 229,000. I click the photo at the bottom of that page and it takes me to the full report. We've got just a couple more minutes if y'all can hang in for. Is everybody seeing that? Laura, did that answer the question?
I think so.
Okay, so just, I won't show you where it was. I clicked that one right there, new. And then down here at the bottom under active condo, townhouse, apartment, just click the photo right behind my face and screen. And it will.
Yes, that answered that question. Thank you.
Okay. So basically the same information that you've got here is the same as on the desktop. It's just put in a more efficient manner. Shows you prior sales transactions. If you scroll to the right, it will show you previous. So it's a quick way to get the history in a little bit easier of a format. Again, shows you school information, some of that data. This also would show mortgage information and the private information there. Okay, quickly showing you this. If you click, scroll back all the way almost to the top. So here's the top. Scroll back down to location and details. And hit that enlarge map. This is where you can see property boundaries. So I'm going to scroll up to another piece of property just because Windward's a patio home that's going to look all as one HOA. But if you look at these up off a winding way, the purple is your property boundaries. Again, off of GIS data, not off of a survey, off of public records. But when you are in the field and you are standing in front of that house, there is a blue dot where you are standing. So it's as accurate as your phone's GPS chip, which is generally a few inches.
Change it to a satellite.
I can. So, well, actually, I don't know that I can here. Yeah, no, I cannot. I think I have to do it from that. So the mobile app is still using Apple Maps. You can't use it. Okay, any questions on that so far? One of the things too that's very nice, I've heard again, Bob, use it before. Looking up that quick property analysis, you can do it as well right here from nearby comps, nearby listings. You can start just looking at approximate values nearby. So very, very handy tool for while you're in the field. Okay. One other thing to note, anything you do and save on your desktop is saved at the bottom of the home page of the RPR's mobile app. The reports, your recent and your saved searches are all there. Say that you went through, like we talked about, and jotted down your notes while in a house, and you put it in that file, you just go back to that house on your mobile app and all of your notes will be there. You can add the photos directly from the app. Any questions?
Can you populate the zip forms from here?
The question was, can you populate the zip forms? From the mobile, you cannot. You could probably take it from, I'd have to look it up. You could probably take it to a web page and then go that way, but it'd be it'd be clunky. All right, it's 12:30, so we are right at the end of the class. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to stick around. Go through anything else.
I've got a general question.
Okay.
Does RPR more or less, from a practical standpoint, take the place of CRS, other than the fact that CRS you can click directly when you're in a listing, you can just click very quickly and look at that info? I mean, is there anything RPR lacks that CRS has, or is there any advantage to CRS other than that it's right there to look at very quickly?
So great question. The question was the differences between CRS and the RPR. They are very similar in what they can do at a core level. They just kind of handle the way they aggregate a little bit differently. CRS pulls from significantly more data sources than the RPR. CRS's view on the way they do things is they get as much as they possibly can. So for a specific example, searching a distressed piece of property, CRS has a whole lot more information about that. So say there's been something recorded at the courthouse, but there's also been a notification in the local newspaper about a foreclosure. CRS is probably going to pick that up, where the RPR just kind of stays away from that. They do show things that have been filed at the courthouse for a distressed piece of property. So it is in, there's a field that will show up under that circumstance in the RPR, but it's not as robust as CRS. CRS's second way that it's significantly different is their prospecting feature has a lot more to it. So they literally will take you, as opposed to just having you ready with the labels and all that, they make it a lot easier to disseminate who you want to send the information to. So they are pulling from anywhere they can find. They even use paid sources to grab information about people that the RPR isn't going to do, just because of where it's getting its data from. Does that make sense? Okay. Anybody else? Well, I hope I didn't overload you with information. I hope I didn't confuse anybody too badly or go too fast. But I am always available if you have any questions, if you have anything you need or just want me to run through, I am happy to do it.
Thank you very much. This is why we love Jay. You guys out there in Zoom land and going away, the last thing I'll ask is do not forget to do those surveys. We really do rely on them in the committees to bring you, to make this better and to bring new ideas. So when you get it in the next day or two, be looking for it. It'll come in your email. Take the time, takes 4 minutes, and send it back to us. Thank you very much.